Okay, so for this video we're going to look at another way to analyze our different landforms, again using the kind of traditional looking landform, and then these more abstract surfaces, whether it's one solid surface or a series of surfaces. And we're going to use these to actually determine the slope aspect, so basically which parts of the landform are facing north, south, east, and west. Again, this is good information to have when understanding plant communities and other factors for the environment based off of their exposure to sunlight. So again, we'll start with just this kind of more traditional surface to understand a little bit better on how the script works. So I'm going to say set one mesh. We'll go ahead and hide it now. And again, we're going to be analyzing the points that are making up this mesh. So in order to do that, I need to go to my Mesh tab and deconstruct this. And you're going to see that, again, there's a lot of different points that make up this landform. But I'm going to turn that off for now. And so, again, we're looking at orientation. So a good piece to have for this is our normals, so those vectors basically of which each one of those slopes is facing. And similar to the slope analysis, we're going to measure the angle between these normals and another type of normal. In this case, our cardinal directions. So I'll go to my vector, and again, I'm going to find the angle between this and another angle. So it's not going to be just our simple x, y, or z. We need to understand where our cardinal directions work in relation to the Rhino workspace. So I'm going to just quickly show you how this is going to work. And I want to hide some of these just because I think the 0, 0 is over there. And so what I want to do is actually, we'll start off with our XY plane here, so we can understand how to orientate this. And again, this is going to help us with the visual of it. So if I go to Vector and look at Rotate, I can see that the Rhino workspace works where X is this direction, Y is this direction. The way our cardinals directions work is that north is pretty much 45 degrees this direction and 45 degrees that way. East is then that wedge, south, and west is that wedge. So we have to actually orientate our plane 45 degrees to get those wedges, because right now the first 90 degrees is going to go from this direction to that direction. We need to rotate it 45 degrees. And the easiest one to look at to rotate is our y axis, or our y direction. So I can go to vector units y. So this is the actual vector I'm going to rotate. The actual axis is that it's going to be on the z-axis. That's what allows us to turn it on that xy plane. So I'm going to vector unit z, and now I have the option to that's really just there as a visual. And then I'm going to convert this to degrees. I'm going to enter 45. And you'll see, again, as a visual, this isn't really part of the script that we need. We'll keep this part, but these next couple steps are just to kind of, again, help you visualize it. So the start is here, and then the vector direction is that way. So if I go to my top view and look at this, we can see that this is going to start our directions from there and moving clockwise. If I wanted to change it, I could always shift it this way, but this is just to help you kind of understand that we are shifting our our plane, and rhino space to these cardinal directions, right? So 45 enter. So that's what we're getting from that. So again, this is just to kind of help you visualize that a little bit better, to say, instead of starting with our kind of measurement of angles from this, we're going to start it from here. So 45 degrees on the left-hand side. So I can just go ahead and get rid of these now. So I want to measure it there. The next thing I want to have also is a plane, and that's going to be our XY plane. This will also help us understand the orientation. Okay. And don't worry that this is reading as red. It really just means that there's probably an angle that's reading perfectly flat, or it just doesn't have a direction. And again, I wouldn't be too worried about that. You probably will have the occasional one that's reading like that. So I also want to convert these to degrees. So now again, this is what the information we're going to use to analyze our actual terrain. So let's zoom back out to this. And so the way this is going to work is basically our north-facing slopes are going to be from 0 to 89, so it's still 90 units. And then from 90 to 179, 180 to 269, and then 270 to 360, or technically 359. And so based off of those degrees, we can start to colorize our mesh. So I can now go to parameters, grab my gradient, and again, these are all the values that we're looking at, but we want to again kind of create our fixed lower and upper limit. So that's going to be 0, copy and paste that, and we're going to go to 360. Technically you want to go to 359.999 or whatever, because it's not true. If I go to 360, that's pretty much reading as 0 also. So here's our values. And the next thing I want to do is begin to actually assign those colors for those aspects. So in order to get this to work, I'm going to go to my presets and choose, I believe, this one. Because I basically want 4 different colors to represent my north, south, east, and west. Again, the first is going to be the north, then it goes east, and south, and then west. So the north is technically the center of that 90-degree range. So from where I was showing you earlier, where 45 was pointing off to that direction, to 45 in that direction, true north is going to be at that 45 value. So in order to get this to read correctly, I need to add a couple more. So I'm going to add these at every 12%. So these are already set at 25% intervals. So you can see it's lagging a little bit now. And this one's at 50, 75, 100. So we want to have these additional ones to actually read as our true directions. So our actual cardinal directions. So I'm going to add 12 or 13% to each one. Oops, nope. Thought I created a new one, but it doesn't look like it. There it is. So this one's 62 or 63. It really doesn't matter at this kind of And then this one's going to be at 75 plus 12 gives me 87 or 88. Okay, so these 0, 25, 50, and 75, and 100, I'm actually going to assign those as white. So that way my north, east, south, and west register as a color. So I'm going to go ahead and, oops, nope, just come on. So right click on it, and you have to kind of make sure it's right there. So I'm going to make that white. Again, the north is probably going to get the least amount of sun, so I want to give that more of a cool color. So maybe that's kind of more of a cyan range. My east is going to get that morning sun, so maybe that's more of a magenta, so it's kind of in the warm color range. It's not as warm as our south and west. Oops, sorry, this needs to actually be 0 or white. You'll see at the end how this works. It's a little tedious at this point, but it'll get us the right outcome. And again, you can give whatever colors you want. I'm just using some form of convention that makes sense to me at least. So this is our south, so this is probably going to be our warmest. So I'm going to get that in the red or orange value. And then so every other one's going to read as white. And then here's my west. So again, that's another one of our warmer ranges. Maybe that's more of this yellow. Then finally, just give this a white. So again, basically what this is going to do is create everything that's at that exact cardinal direction, north, east, south, and west. And then everything between it starts to kind of go. So think of these ones. So this one's technically like northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, and northwest again. So that's why I kind of want those secondary directions kind of in this white gradient. So now you get to decide what do I want to color. So for this, I'm just going to go ahead and reconstruct this again. So I'm going to go to Mesh, Construct, because from here I can now assign colors to all those. So let's just make sure everything else is turned off. Oops, it did not like that. That's strange. Huh. So if that's not working for some odd reason, I could always color something else. I'm going to go to Display because I do want to at least make sure you understand this. I'm going to just color my points based off of these swatches. Okay, so I can see just how crazy that starts to look. Again, there's a lot of information going on, and it's a lot of detail, so it's a little tough to kind of understand or read perfectly. But it is working correctly. So let's just, again, maybe this more simple surface will read a little bit better. So what's great is I can pretty much just reference my surface now. So parameters, surface, I'm going to actually shift this part. So if I want to analyze a mesh, I kind of keep that there. If I want to analyze a surface, I could do it a couple ways. I could just say set one surface, convert it to a mesh. Maybe you kind of still want to have this kind of nice blend of colors. So I'll go ahead and turn that all off and drag that into there. So you can see how those are actually working. So The blue ones again are facing north. If I look at this kind of overall surface, we can see how that's reading. The south is reading as those reds, magenta, east, yellow is our west. All right, so if I want to turn this off, I can see it a little bit better that way too. So that's how we can start to understand. I wonder if this will work for some reason compared to the last one. Nope, I don't know why it's not liking that this time, but it isn't. Okay, so the other way, instead of just showing points, because those are again kind of hard to show, I'm going to show this surface real quick. I can see that I think the very first one is null. So I just happen to know it's that corner right there. So I'm going to turn on this point and just move it down a little bit. It doesn't seem to have, there must be another null in there somewhere. But anyways, it was worth a shot. So there's a couple other ways we can, again, kind of visualize our surface. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this right now. So I'm going to use my surface. I'm going to, let's use our lunchbox plugin to look at it a little bit differently. So again, here's my panels that I can start to show. If I want, I can, again, kind of show them as at a higher resolution. Okay, so from here, I'll do area to get the point, because that's again what we're actually analyzing with these. I can then actually evaluate it. So the first thing I need to do is do the surface closest point. So here's my points. Here's my panels or surfaces. I can turn all of this off for now. Let's kind of shift. Let's give ourselves a little bit more room here. And then from here, in order to get those normals again, I'm just going to go to the same surface. Here's my UVs. And now I have my normals, and that's again, we're always trying to get these vector normals to analyze. So you can see that now it does like that. There doesn't seem to be any issues with that. And so now I can actually colorize those panels. So I'm going to hide this. I'm going to look at these panels coming out of that lunchbox component and colorize it that way, right? So now I can make it look more kind of like a grid system. So yeah, it doesn't really matter how you want to portray it. There is a lot of variation that we can get out of that. And again, I can show you that even for something as comprehensive as this, let's again kind of give us more and more room. I'm going to go to parameters, surface, set multiple surfaces, and I am gonna again convert this to a mesh. So I'm gonna hide this, make it into a mesh. Plug that into there. And again, I'm just going to keep trying to get this mesh to colorize until I'm content. So again, I don't know why it's not letting me colorize them all of a sudden. Let's go ahead and flatten it because there's multiple. I can now construct it. So again, I'll flatten all of the, actually I don't want to flatten it. So how many colors do I have coming out of here now? Let's not flatten that. So just short of 10,000. Just make sure that I get that same number, yep. Let's try this again. Oh, so I like this mesh, so that's good. So again, so now even with this one, we get that same kind of, it's a little more radical looking, and it's probably hard to tell, but even just the slightest kind of change gives us those values. It's a little more difficult because it's, I would almost argue that some of these aren't, and I think there's some kind of weird discrepancy going on, because I don't know if I truly believe that some of these are facing the direction it is, but I can see that obviously the magenta is going in the right direction. These ones are, but it seems like the ones going in this direction are off a little, because I can see that, and I think that's because of their overall orientation. So this is probably just a bad example, but it is working because I can see from, again, those previous samples. So here's how you can colorize them. Let's go back, because I did like the way I did this original surface first. So there's my normals. I'm going to, again, go to Display, Custom Preview. I'm going to look at these panels based off of these colors. So, in part of the analysis, maybe you want to just find the parts of the surface that are orientated a certain direction. So if we want to start to filter out our north, south, east, and west parts of our surface, we can also start to do that. So in order to do that, we have to go to Math, Domain, and Includes. So I'm going to look at all my degrees, and I need to create a domain to look for. So I'm going to construct this. And again, just to help you kind of understand, our 0 to 89 is north, 90 to 179 is east, 180 to 269 is south, and then 270 to 359.99 is west. So I can start to create number sliders for that. So I'm going to do 0 less than 359. Yeah, I'll just do 359. So if I add a decimal, then there's decimal for all these values. So let's just first start off by filtering our north. So if I just want to find those north degree, it gives me a true and false, basically saying if it's in that range, it's true. If it's not, it's false. And so this is again how we can start to use the dispatch component to filter this out. So I'm going to use this as my pattern. So my true, false. I can look at which of those panels is actually doing that. So it's again always going to show me ones that are true and false. So A is true, B is false. We're really only interested in the true values, so the ones that are within that range. You can turn that off. And then I'll just show you real quick. So these are all the surfaces that are facing the north. And so it's good as I can still even kind of give them that same colorization. I just have to remember to copy and paste my dispatch. So instead of, again, filtering out the panels, I want to filter out my color values. So I'm going to drag this as my list now. So here's my colors, here's my panels. So now I can get rid of this, and again, the geometry I'm showing is this one. So these are the panels, and here's my colors. So preview. So now you can see that these are all our cyan ones. And if I want to, I could just show the remaining ones too by just going like this. Huh. Are they showing up? Oh, that's because that's the colors, right? So here are the panels. So here's the remaining geometry. So you could start to kind of make it look like that. You could even just say, you know what, I want to color these white as well. So I'm going to just go to Input, Color Swatch, and make those also white. So now we kind of get that range. So now you can pretty much do it like this, where if you want to look at the south, then I go from 180 to 269. Right, so there's all my south. So in this area, you might want to kind of just create a little kind of text box to say what this information means. So 0 to 90 equals north. Oh, sorry, so technically 89. 90 to 179 equals east. 180 to 269 equals south. And then 270 to 359 equals west. So this will just kind of help you remember what those range values are. So yeah, there you go. So now you can look at all of them by, again, let's just go to display. I could always kind of look at all the color ranges. Or I can just start to filter them out using this part of the component. So it becomes very helpful of kind of determining which areas are going to be good for certain plant communities based off of their exposure to the sun.